I'm Adam Ellyson. I'm working on my Hummer Cozy right now. And basically, right now I'm making the middle section, or the 3 strips of 9 inches. And I just do just contrasting it. So if it's a light bottom fabric, the middle one will be dark, and then the third one that I sew on will also be light. So basically, kind of doing these sections here, 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 there, and I just do it and fill up boxes. So do this for about one run will probably last about 2 hours. And yeah, so I've been keeping them, kind of trying to keep the colors together recently. So I'll do warm and cool colors. Whereas in that example, that's just kind of a mess. So since this is kind of lighter, I'll go for a darker one.
And can you tell us about this Hummer Cozy project?
Basically, I got the idea to do the Hummer Cozy just quilting. And it started with with ceramics. I just decided to make kind of quilt. Well, I've also been doing quilting, so just mixing the two. The cozy, quilted cozy, kind of the quilts represent love of the object, and then so I decided to make cozies, quilted cozies for domestic objects that we want to, that we seek on our way up the American ladder. So it started. I'm also doing, I'll show you later, cozies for washer and dryer, which are more strips of fabric. Those are going to be more in a string string piece quilt. But this one is for the Hummer, which is obviously the biggest pieces. So, yeah.
How many hours do you think you'll have in this?
I guess, I don't know right now, probably at least 100, I would imagine. 40-hour a week. Yeah, probably more than that. Probably more so. I've been working, I don't know, about 10-hour days.
And so what was the response to the dealership when they heard you wanted to do a Hummer Cozy?
Oh, well, I had to go all over the place. So first I went to one dealership, and they were just a satellite of another dealership. So I went there, talked to the man up front. He sent me to talk to Greg McKenzie, I think in the back, service guy. And I thought, oh, this guy he's not going to have the authority. But they said, yeah. So I went and talked to this guy, Greg, and I showed him this swatch right here. Pulled it out of my bag, and I told him my idea, and he said, yeah, it sounds good. Yeah, we've worked with San Jose State before, so yeah, just let me know when you want to come in and do measurements. So right now I've been working, so probably next week I'll go in and do some measurements or just fit some mirrors, because it's going to be custom formed to the vehicle. It's not just going to be like a car cover that lays over it. Everything's going to be detail oriented and like it was shrink wrapped, hopefully. Yeah. So next week I'll go and talk to him and do some mirrors and get some measurements and kind of plan it out a little bit more. But right now I'm just cranking and making as many squares. I've been keeping track, and I think I might have about 10 square feet, 20 square feet right now, which might be enough to do both sides. So after a few more days of just production line, then I'll actually kind of measure it and start putting things together and see where I have to go from there.
And what do you think people's response is going to be to this Hummer Cozy when they see it actually on the Hummer?
Oh, I think they're going to be mesmerized. I think it's going to be pretty wowing. It's going to be a real shocker. They're going to go, whoa, this is pretty outrageous and ridiculous, which goes along the things that I like to do. Yeah, I think they're going to be kind of, real ridiculous. Who would spend all this time making a cozy for a Hummer? More productive ways of spending one's time, which is what it's all about. So, yeah. So, just cranking. So I just do these, and then I'll do another 9-inch strip on here. And then with the rotary cutter, I cut them down into 3-inch strips, which are then sewed as 7-inch strips. But I can do this for, I was doing this last night listening to the baseball games, Red Sox, and it's great. You just kind of zone out. Where did I put those? Yeah. So these are all ones that I've color coded. These are a different stage. And these are, I've kind of sorted them into different colors. So this is going to be kind of white, yellows, red, green, blue, and blacks and darker colors. And right now my idea is that I'm going to kind of have them in different zones. So maybe some diagonals. I'm not quite sure.
So you're using the color scheme to set up the pattern?
Yeah, kind of. There'll be bigger blocks. So instead of just having, each block, I'll put 4 of these blocks together to make a bigger block, which will have more gradations and all that stuff, but it'll still have a vibe of, say, orange or red. And then I'll divide those and maybe do some diagonals.
The fabric that you have, where did you find this fabric?
Oh, this fabric is all, I'll show you later, it's all under here. It all sample books that designers use, swatches. So if you were affluent, you would have a designer come over to your house and say, oh, let's see, what are you looking for? Don't like that. Well, ooh, I like this one. Well, let's do the curtains in this, with some accent pillows in this. So it's all just affluent type stuff, which fits with the whole Hummer idea, because in order to buy a Hummer, you have to have extra money. So that's where I think that's where that all came from, yeah. And I got it from a designer who was moving, designer named Martha from South San Jose, and she is moving to Hawaii, and so I met her at a design fair, and she was getting rid of all her books. So I went over and picked them up, filled up the back of my car, and then been just cutting them up. Is that good? Should we move to cutting?
Yeah, I have one question for you.
Okay.
Let me figure out how to frame it. Since obviously you're not part of the affluent crowd yourself.
Yes.
How do you feel about making an object for the affluent to use?
Oh, for the affluent? Well, I don't think anyone's actually ever going to use this. It's more of an, would someone? Oh, I think that is kind of weird. Yeah, it's not, I'm not really thinking about making things for, well, I guess it is for a rich, yeah, I guess it's all just part of the game. So I'm all right with it. But the whole idea isn't mainly for rich, but it's more just for the average Joe going up the economic ladder. That's where the washing machine comes in. First, if you're if you're out of high school and you get an apartment, you have to go to the laundromat to do your laundry. So then the first step out of that poverty would be to actually not have to go to the laundromat. You have a house with a washer and dryer. So that's good. So that's the first rung. And then the second rung of my idea is you might not be able to own a house, but you might be able to buy a nice car. So the idea for the Hummer came from, first I wanted to do a BMW, but then it seemed that it would be more like a car cover. So then I got the idea to do the Hummer because it's more outrageous. Plus it's also boxier, so the quilt would look more inducive for going on a quilt. So that's the idea for the Hummer. And then I guess the next stage would be to do a house. But I'm not thinking about that right now. Okay, ready? How to harvest fabric? First we take this. These are just stapled. I go through. These are a little bit thicker, so I'll go 1, 2, maybe about 4. Oh, that's good.
So you're sorting right now?
Yeah, normally these things just kind of mess it up. So some of the books, they don't have those. So I'll do these a little later. I don't want the pictures. All right, so basically get those. In one measurement, which looks like I'll probably be able to get 7 inches. That's what I need for one cut. 7 inches by 7, so I can get 3 or 2 strips out of this. Sometimes it's not as bit of a pain. So I'm lining them up on this line, which I'll then cut down. I feel like I could have my own quilt show. Those on the lines. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I'm doing 3-inch cuts. And the thing I like about this size that I'm doing right now, which I noticed recently, a few days ago, is that these sections are almost the size of the same proportions as a dollar bill. So right now I'm taking H's and putting them next to squares. I'll show you. Most of these, they're divided into 2 things. Like this is an H right here with the patterns. And it doesn't, some of them it doesn't really jump out as much as others. Like this one predominantly purple. Some of them jump out. And then there are some center squares, which would be, let's see if I can find one. I didn't really pay too much attention to, like this would be a center, here's center squares, where the center square is different than the outside materials. See how that jumps out? So what I'm doing is taking this, the H, and then putting the center square and having these meet perpendicularly, flipping that over and sewing it with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, so that these, eventually these 9-inch, or these are 7-inch squares, so eventually these 7-inch squares are going to equal a 13-inch square when they're done. I think that's right. 4 7-inch squares normally be 14, but you lose an inch, so it'll be a 13 square. When it's then sewed, the 13-inch squares are sewed together, they will equal a foot square, 12 inches. For those viewers watching at home. So basically, I'll just go through this, and where did that other one go? Yeah, just keep sewing these on. And I should probably, yeah. That's it. And then right now I'm working on the blacks, the darker tones. So it's a perfect thing to just mindless. This will just be hours and hours and hours. I guess I should sort them a little better. So the overall effect is just going to be like these kind of random squares and H's.
What's H for?
H is for Hummer.